Hello. Some of you guys might be wondering what my thoughts are on Rust, mainly because it's a compiled language. It's similar path for some people coming from C to go from C to Rust. People like it more than C++ and so forth. Well, actually, I have been using Rust professionally for the last year through work, and I'm not an expert in it, and I'm nowhere close to being an expert in it, but we'll see. I'm just going to put down some of my thoughts as I kind of, in the next like 10, 15 minutes or so, just try to use it to make a project. Again, I have some experience here, so obviously I'm not doing this completely from scratch. So essentially, what are some thoughts about Rust as I try to install the SDL2 crate here and get a window up? SDL2, bam. First thing you'll notice is the build system is a hell of a lot better than anything that comes with C++. I was able to create a new project and add a dependency to it literally while talking to you guys right now. Paste it in, create a launch configuration here via Visual Studio Code, which is not my favorite IDE, but for Rust, it's kind of the way it is. I also have the Rust toolkit, whatever the fuck it's called, installed here, as you can tell, which is helping out with some of this like syntax shit that you see on here. So yeah, my thoughts about Rust. The build system is really fucking solid. It's obviously a lot nicer than C++, where you kind of have to build dependencies yourself or hope they're already installed on your Linux system, which is cool. It's extremely type safe, which something I didn't like initially about Swift, and then I came around. I was using Swift as my day job for like 10 years when I was a contractor. So I would basically be doing like Objective C++ in my own time for Verto, or just C++, and then Swift. And the fact that Rust looks similar to Swift is, in my opinion, pretty cool. A pretty cool thing. Yeah, so some more things I like about it. Let me just really quickly see how to make a loop here. Loop. This percent, right? Yeah. And then, oh, that's right. Yeah, it has semicolons. Structurally, I'd say it's probably the most similar to C++. But yeah, this is a perfect example. So Rust is crazy about mutability. I mean, it is insane. It does not want you to be able to mutate variables that are not declared mutable. For example, I don't even know if this is the right way to make this error go away. I guess it is. Rust is really, really big on ownership of variables and borrowing rules, basically meaning that there are some rules built into the Rust language that are so not counterintuitive, but so different from any other language you've ever used that you might find your first couple weeks, even months writing Rust very frustrating. And it's one of the few languages where I actually recommend really reading up on it and like buying either the book or reading a primer before you try to do things. Because if you try to do things in the way that you might be more used to doing when you're used to using lower level languages like C and C++, it'll just piss you off. For example, basically, Rust does not allow you to have a borrowed reference, or what's called a borrow, to a variable while you have another reference in place, even if the first one is not mutable. Basically, it makes it almost impossible to have dangling references, which is something that if you know what you're doing in C++, you do all the time, or in C, you do all the time with pointers. Rust just simply won't let you do it. There's so many other things about it, but this can cost you so much time if you're used to doing certain design patterns, at least not without doing like what are called smart pointers and what's called like reference counting and mutexes and a bunch of other crap. Another thing about the Rust language is that it's extremely thread safe, so that it's designed to make it impossible to have weird references going on at the same time and data races between threads. I'm going to go ahead and run this and see what happens. Like a window that I can't close. So let's kill this thing. Okay, so let's see what we can do really quickly. Here we go. Running loop, window, swap window, pull. I did not prepare much for this video, if you can't tell. So I'm using some tutorial code just so I can kind of get my thoughts about the language as I'm doing this stuff. For the most part, everything seems to... Oh, that's ridiculous. Rust allows you to label variables and then break out of them. The fact that this is a common like UX or like a common paradigm is kind of weird to me, like especially with the way C++ normally would work. It almost feels like a go-to to me, but it's fine. Another thing is Rust is super huge on matches, which are kind of like switches in other languages. It's very big on expressions and like expressive programming, meaning that you can essentially make the result of an expression like the way like in C++ you might do something like x equals, oh I don't know, I'll let value equals false, and then you might do something like value question, 5 otherwise 0. You can't do this in Rust. In Rust you would do if value 5 else 3, and then the value of x would basically be dependent upon this. So the fact that you don't have semicolons inside here means that the result of this whole thing takes this expression. This video really is not intended to be like an explanation of like how to code in Rust. It's really intended to be my own like thoughts on how the language works, basically. Yeah. So real quick, just throw in some more stuff in here. Another thing you're going to notice, are there any using statements up here? Yeah. So it has this stuff to bring things into scope, which is kind of cool. So this would be kind of like using, for C++. So I'm just going to run this and see what happens real quick. If I hit escape, yeah, it goes away. So what else? Rust is really big on the idea of these results and things that can essentially fail. Kind of like it's basically how Rust does error handling. So like if I wanted to make this function called run game and have it return a result, and the result would basically be like void, right? I could throw this whole thing inside of a result checker. Hold on. Throw this whole thing inside a method to handle the syntax pisses me off. And then I can basically call the game like this. And one of the things that's a little frustrating to me about Rust is that Rust programmers really try to talk about how safe it is, but then you see all this tutorial code encouraging people to call unwrap, which essentially will cause the entire damn program to crash if you don't check the results of your errors. So it's a little frustrating to me that so many people use unwrap in their tutorial code. It's kind of like, oh, our language is safe as long as you don't use this thing that everyone uses anywhere all the time that can basically crash the entire program. So that's another thing I noticed. It's kind of like people say, oh, don't use pointers because C++ isn't safe. And then they turn around and then have things that are like not all that safe. I'm just looking to see what this thing's complaining about. I know that I need to actually put the error in here, and I don't know what these things return. So let me just really quickly see what result would be if I just set this, or window would be if I just set this. Window build error. Oh yeah, that's another thing that's frustrating too. With Swift, you kind of have like try and catch, and it's basically like anything can conform to the same error type. With Rust, you can't just have a result that has one error type. You basically have to bring everything into a common type because the language is not, without doing some things called like trait objects, the language is not very polymorphic. It's very statically typed because they're trying to make these things exist on the heap, which makes it really difficult to do, just really convenient programming, I guess. I don't consider Rust's error checking system all that user-friendly. Having said that, I can really quickly do my best to just be like, make my own. I hate mine. We're just going to put like game error. So then I can basically try to make my own error type. I think I can just make it like the Unix struct, which is a thing in Rust. So something like this, maybe. And then every single time that something could fail, I believe I have to call map error on it. And then pass it a closure. and then essentially create a new game error. I don't know how to make one of these, to be honest with you. I think I actually have to impl the thing and then do this, and then this, and then in Rust you don't call return. It's considered bad practice. You just make the expression of the function basically the expression. Oops, this should be an fn for function. And now I can do this, I think. Make 0 arguments. Oh, it wants the other error, which I don't care about. I feel like the language has a long way to go to be like readable and like kind of not have some issues with like approachability. Again, these hot takes are my own. Like, I know other people got their own things. The more I use Rust, the more I like it. I really do. Oh, you need to return something. So, yeah, this is stupid, but you basically have to put OK at the end of the function to say that you didn't fail. But yeah, the more I use Rust, the more I like it, but I don't know if that's like a fucking Stockholm Syndrome thing, honestly. Something, right? So let's try to draw a square, much like we've done with our C code before. We're going to need a renderer. I don't even know if I've created one of those yet. Wait, what's it doing? Oh, that's cool as shit. Okay, that's neat. Honestly, I don't know how much is going to be in here, but like... Okay, that's fucking badass. I do like that very much. Because this is local on my machine, so this was literally generated right now and literally ran for me. So let's see what I can figure out from this. For some reason I couldn't find it. So start over, rect, new. There we go. New is the most common constructor paradigm in Rust, and I guess I freaking forgot that. So let's just do 50, 50, 100, 100. End of damn story, right? Maybe. All right. I'm going to make this further along. And then we can do fill rect with rect. And maybe I was wrong about that. I don't know. See a square? No? Let me set the color here. Set draw color. Drawing operations. I am not, like, if this is like normal SDL, this is not going to work. So I feel like I'm wasting more time here, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to put white in here because I know that it's declared. Okay, so apparently that does work. So this is how long it took for me to get a square. I suppose really quickly we can move it around, and then I might try to make a RESTful API call for no reason. Then we're going to call it a day because I do want to at least show off like what it's like to actually do real programming in this language. So let's expand this out because I don't know what the fuck. Oh, it's trying to handle like multiple events at the same time. So this is pretty neat. Let's see if I can match. I don't think you can match the same thing twice, but maybe you can. Key down. Key code. Sum is Swift's way of having a value for an optional. So Swift supports optionals, which is pretty nice. I've been using those a lot in my C++ programming for work nowadays, which is pretty good. Let's see what happens if we get up. Swift uses this thing called printline. It's a macro to print things out. So let's just see if I get anything when I print out up. We do. Fucking awesome. And so now let's try to make a man struct. We're not going to remake fucking whole game. I just want to show you what this will look like. So pub struct man x, which would be float. I think I used floats before. Y float. Most people use 64-bit floats in Rust. They don't use 32-bit. Really, I don't know if that's true, but that's just kind of how I like to do things. I've been using doubles a lot with work, so I really don't use single precision floats much these days. So we have man, right? And then we're going to do impl man to put some methods on them. That's how you declare methods in Rust. And then we're going to do pub fn new. Going to return one. We're going to give x as 50, 50, y 50. And then we're going to do pub fn draw, or sorry, render. And that's going to take in a mutable reference, this will be called canvas, which will be a mutable canvas, maybe. And then this is where we're going to move our draw call. Like so. What did I just fucking do? Okay, it's fine. Yeah, everything's fine, so you don't even fucking panic at all. What is this thing complaining about? Canvas is canvas window. Sure, I guess. Okay, we need to bring this into scope. So use SDL2 render canvas. This needs a return type. So much like Rust syntax with that. There seems to be another problem. Oh, I think these need to be decimals to be taken. Yeah, okay, cool. Now we have render, now we have this. This should not be hard-coded anymore. X and Y should be given from... I think you have to do self-dot, but let me just try X and Y directly. I don't think Rust lets you do that. Yeah, Rust is very specific. Oh, and another thing, if you were declaring a method, you actually need to put self as an argument in here. Or otherwise you can't use it. That's kind of really annoying, but it's kind of C-like, so I get why people like it. So now I can do self X, self Y. I think you can. This is probably going to complain because it's expecting an integer and I'm giving it a float. So I think it's as simple as doing this. And, okay. Man. Let man equals man new. And then man render let canvas. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's awesome. It worked. And then now what we do, it's stupid as hell, but I could either make a method called move, but this video is already getting too long. I can just do man x plus or y minus equals, no, I don't know, 1.5. Bam. That's very slow. Oh, we didn't need to clear. We've literally been drawing on top every single time. So at the beginning of our render method, which I'm going to create, and then draw screen. Again, this is different than the C API. Yeah, whatever. Okay. And then this is using key down events and not like is the current key down, but you guys get the idea. I'm not going to try to be here forever, so we'll just do this. I can move the square. That's what I was getting at. Let's try something a little bit more crazy, and then we're going to call it a video because this is already running pretty long. But yeah, just my thoughts on Rust are that it's got a little bit of ways to go to be like easier to use, but once you get the hang of it, it is powerful. It is safe. If you're not a moron and you call unwrap everywhere, if you actually like use the correct error handling systems, it's safe. It's a lot harder to do things like overrun a buffer pointer and fuck up your whole memory system. If you follow its rules, it's a little easier to do like thread safe programming, which is really cool. Yeah, it's not bad. So let me really quickly add a new file. Let's go into the source code, touch, request, rs. And then, so like if I do like pub fn make request, Rust loves snake case. So you might see me get it. Yeah, I might be writing some camel case in here, but like Rust has their own preferred syntax or like coding style, and typically it's snake case. And I try to at least adhere to whatever the language is going to do, like whatever its vibe is as I use it. So I think it should be as simple as me just being like, that's what it is. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And then it should be as simple as being request. Okay. Yeah, I got a little bit stuck there, but I remember finally how to do this shit. This is probably going to be like too much, but let me just really quickly see. If not, I'll just skip to the end of the edit. Calling a web API to us. So I'm pretty sure we need a couple things in here. I recognize Saturday, so I'm just going to add that, or Sarad, I don't know how to say it. Cargo, cargo add Sarad. This is probably going to make the project get significantly larger. No, not really. Okay. And I think Sarad is good for like JSON deserialization and stuff like that. Also, fuck, I don't know what API to call, and I don't have an API key. So, yeah, this is going to be a little bit weird. You know, I could just literally make a call to Google. It's fine. I don't care. Eh. Oh, yeah. Right. That's fucking awesome. All right, this is perfect. Things in here. I don't think I have request, so I think I need to add this, which I will. Cargo add this. Done. This should go away, this little error. And I don't know what deserialize. Oh, that comes from request, so it's fine. Struct. Response. I'm not parsing every single thing from this damn thing. Will be here forever. I'm literally just going to take these config things. So if you want to use macros, you need to say in your cargo toml that you're using macros. It's not enough to add the thing. Tools, comma, tools. See what happens. This is an async function, so we're going to need Tokio. Tokio is the async framework that everybody just seems to love to use for Rust. One of the things I will tell you about Rust is that there's not a lot in the standard. That's not true. There's quite a bit in the standard library. However, did this break? No, it's fine. It isn't. There's a lot of crates that people just use that like they can't live without, which makes me a little bit nervous because there's these third-party things that aren't built into the language that you can't really do a lot without. In other words, so it's not like Swift where you have this Apple ecosystem that like literally everything is done for you at part of the standard library and the standard frameworks. You need to pull in these open source things, and Tokio is like one of those things for sure. So anyway, we're going to make an pub. I don't know if pub should be first. That looks weird. I'm going to throw async backwards. And it's going to return a result. We all know about our fun results, right? Nothing. And then error. I don't know if we need to map the errors or not. Oh, request error. Cool. So yeah, we pull this one as the error that we do. I'm just going to replace this literally with our URL that I want to use. Some of this code should already look pretty familiar to you by now, which is kind of cool. Again, I'm not trying to teach you guys Rust right now. I'm just literally trying to frickin' get my thoughts on the language. This is probably the most I've used it in like a personal consensus in a long time. So yeah, this format macro is pretty cool because it allows you to expand upon things. So I can literally throw this in here like this. Query, let query equals dogs. So you guys get the idea. Request URL. No really reason to print it. However, I do want to make sure that we check to see what we're getting back. Theoretically, it should be enough to do. Oh, that's cool. It infers it from the type. So by throwing the type annotation here, it knows what it's trying to parse back. So in this case, it'll just be a single response. We call await. These question marks are designed to, I don't think I ever explained that. They're designed to essentially, if there's an error, return the error, otherwise keep going on. So it's kind of like Rust's version of like error handling, in other words. Yeah. Response. We're going to do debug here so we can print this thing out. And that way we can do question colon, which is a really fucking weird way of telling Rust that we want to print out the debugging format for this response. Oh, I screwed up. Rust allows you to declare a variable by the same name twice and essentially shadow the other one. So I'm going to call this result instead of response, even though it is a response. And this problem should theoretically go away. I mentioned I'm doing this with the air conditioner turned off because I can't record good audio. And I'm sweating my ass off. Did I mention that at all? I'm starting to get pretty annoyed here. All right, asshole. There. Still a problem. Let's see what it is. Value borrowed after move. Okay, so it's saying that we're borrowing the value after it was moved because I typed the thing wrong. So it should just be result like that. Build done. Theoretically, everything should be fine. However, I do need to actually call this, and this is where this gets a little bit weird. You cannot call an async function from main unless you make async. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to make main async via a macro. I think this is called a macro. If it's not, don't judge me. I fucking know the names of these things. Tokyo main and basically turns main into something that can be async. So now that allows me to do, before the game starts, make a web request for no damn reason. Request, make request, await. And then we can unwrap it here, or we can do the whole map error shit. You guys get the idea of how unwrap works. Or I can make this return result error and do something fun like that. Which is basically the same thing as panicking anyway, but as the last damn thing I'll show you guys. So the result basically becomes this. And then we have, this shit is, like, it's still better than C++'s, like, CMake, but shit like this is, like, kind of annoying. Like, just fucking enable the feature. See what happens. Request to code error, expected value. Okay. So it turns out I had the world's worst luck, and that stupid get animal info API I was calling was returning unauthorized, even though it said it wouldn't, just because I was calling it from Rust. Even though it worked from curl in the web browser and every other thing, instead of debugging it and wasting more time, I just switched to a different API. So what you see me doing here is basically changing the keys and the data structure that I'm parsing into JSON to match the new API. Just so that I can finish this stupid example of calling a web request from Rust. So again, it wasn't Rust's fault. It was just that I was calling an API that for some reason was only working on certain user agent types, and I didn't want to waste time debugging that any further. So, let's run this damn thing, see the result, and be done. Response got back something. So yeah, the problem was not with the language or even me. It was with the fucking URL and their Cloudflare protection thing. So anyway, if I don't print out any of this debugging stuff and I only print out the response, you can see before my game starts now that we have a URL or a RESTful request made to a URL, and then we get back an answer. And if I did want to actually look, see what this was, because it probably improved my mood after getting pissed off. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so that was longer than I thought it would be, which is usually the case with these videos, but I'm coming around to Rust now that I know how to use it. It's you know, it's pretty cool. Granted, I still think that I prefer writing in C and C++, and it probably will be that way for a while, but I can see the utility, especially on the portability side for the language. And as I continue to kind of grow in you know, learning other languages besides C++ and Swift and everything else I use nowadays, I might make more content like this. You guys can let me know if you found it, if you thought it was useful or not. I don't have as much time as I used to maintain this channel, you know, these days with a full-time job and everything, but I still like to upload every now and then. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care.